Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Julie.
We're the hosts of the Hartford Fund's Human Centric Investing Podcast.
Every other week, we're talking with inspiring thought leaders to hear their best ideas for how you can transform your relationships with your clients.
Let's go.
Jeremy, welcome to the Human Centric Investing Podcast.
Wow.
I'm so excited to have you here today.
Awesome, Julie. I'm excited to be here.
So, Jeremy, you're the president and founder of CRNA Financial Planning and CRNA Tax Associates, and you specialize in guiding CRNAs in all stages of their financial life. Could you tell our audience today a little bit about your financial services practice, as well as maybe what a CRNA is?
Sure, you got to say that like
Start with the
3 times,
definitions here.
right? So a CRNA is a certified registered nurse anesthetist. They just went through a little bit of a name change, and we might get into this a little bit. There is this ongoing battle between the CRNA and the anesthesiologist who's an MD. So there's a respect issue. There's a lot of things that go on, a lot of political stuff that gets into it. But instead of anesthetist, it is the certified registered nurse anesthesiologist. Yeah. So
Interesting.
a lot of background there. You know, you dig deep and you learn a lot. So.
Well, and that's really what this is about today, is really, thinking about how does a financial professional cultivate their niche and really separate themselves from others. Will you talk to us a little bit about how you got into this and what started it and just sort of the foundation? Because I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, like most good things, Julie, it was a happenstance. It really was. I started out in the business and it took everybody that walked through the door, anybody that would talk to me, that would breathe, hey, come on in, you got money, I'll take it, right? And then along the way, our office did a lot of target marketing to certain groups. And, I got involved with the CRNA group. And what I quickly learned is, as opposed to some other specialties that think they know more than we do about what we do on a daily basis, I'm going to leave that specialty out. CRNAs are nurses by background. They don't get a lot of business training, extremely bright, extremely smart, but they listened, they took advice, and they knew they weren't the experts. And then as I got to know them even better, I learned, gosh, they make good money. I really like them. They're cool people. We can hang out together. I'm type A, they're type A. This just might work. And here we are.
It's so interesting. I've always thought that the financial services industry is a people helping people business, much like the healthcare industry. So I can see where there are probably some parallels, and each of you have your area of expertise, and then you come together and educate each other.
Yeah.
When you think about the industry today, do you think having a niche or a focus area is important to financial professionals?
I think it's extremely important today. There's so many more financial professionals out there, so many more CFPs out there, and the majority in our industry are generalists. And they really, really struggle to stand out. Niches are where trust, expertise, and long-term relationships are really built. And I think that I would implore every advisor out there to think of what that niche is. And it's not going to be, hey, I work with retirees. That's not a niche, guys. I'm sorry. Hey, I work with business owners. That's not a niche either. You've got to really target, hey, I work with, retirees of AT&T. That's a niche. I work with business owners that own landscaping businesses. That's a niche. But just being a generalist today is a very tough way to make a living.
How did you educate yourself on your niche? Because I would imagine that you need to be somewhat fluent and conversant in their language, if you will. What have you done personally? How have you structured your team? Will you talk to us a little bit about how you put this really interesting niche together?
Yeah, I mean, when I say I eat, sleep, live, and breathe CRNA, I really do, Julie.
Mhm.
I started out in the business, and we got one CRNA, and then we got two, and then we got 10, then we got 100, and we literally have thousands of CRNAs all across the country. We have clients in every single state. Um, and along the way, I've made a lot of friends. I've been put myself in situations where I'm always in the middle of CRNAs, literally in the middle, because my wife is also a CRNA who I met along the way. I was actually speaking at a meeting, and her and I met, and we knew each other for a few years, and then finally ended up going out on a date one night, and the rest is history, as they say. So this industry, I mean, not only have I made a lot of friends, my wife is in it. We really do eat, sleep, live, and breathe it. And, we'll talk a lot about this. I mean, I'm part of the ANA's foundation board, the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists or Anesthesiology, whatever you want to say.
Mhm.
At this point, I sit on their foundation's board. I hear the decisions being made by a lot of smart CRNAs in that room, and I chime in when I can. Um, I go to their meetings. I have friends. I try to talk their language. I mean, I know what intubate
Mhm.
means and extubate
Mhm.
means and
Mhm.
propofol, and and I talk to my wife about this stuff. And then, as you know, Julie, I also have my own podcast. And,
Yes.
and on that podcast, it has been drink from a fire hose because these people are all CRNAs. They speak
Mhm.
a completely different language than you and I do, Julie.
Right.
And I've had to learn that. And they get on there and they're talking about cases and what they did in the OR and the tools they use. And I've had to learn that by trial and error. It's just built that. And then we built our staff to be able to speak that language. Um, we talk to CRNAs every day, and not only do we help them on the financial side, we help them on the tax side because they
Mhm.
have the unique opportunity to do what's called locum tenens or 1099. And they have different needs and different ways they need to structure their business. And so we speak that language. We talk to recruiters that recruit them. And I try to give that knowledge back to our staff, in places that I think, makes sense for them to understand and learn. So it's really been a culture that we've built. And, I alluded to it earlier, this battle between the anesthesiologists, the MDs and the CRNAs. And our staff understands that. And when we talk to a CRNA, a lot of CRNAs believe that I am a CRNA. They really do. They think that I am a CRNA, which is crazy to me. But and I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to really immerse yourself in it. You've got to build a culture around it. When you talk to us that we know the CRNA industry because we will say things that you would never hear from your average financial advisor out there, your generalist, or your average CPA firm. They have no idea what these people do on a daily basis.
So the trust and the relationship that you've gained and built because you and your team speak the language, I would imagine it's just irreplaceable in that client process.
It is. And, nowadays, I mean, people are looking for that. They want to have a
Mhm.
relationship with their advisors. They want to be able to trust them. I mean, this world is not a trustworthy place. Madoff and all the things that's happened in our industry, lawsuits and things that have happened throughout the years, it's made it really hard to trust someone and give them your money and give them your tax returns and give them your social security number. Are they going to do the right thing? Are they doing it for me or are they doing it for themselves just to make money? And I tell people this all the time. It's interesting to me. I've been doing this for, I started in the business in 96, so going on 29 years now. I have walked by people, talked to people at meetings, gone out and had a glass of wine with people, had dinner with them. They've never done a lick of business with me. And then all of a sudden, one day, 20, 25 years later, they'll go, I'm really thinking about retirement. I don't know why I haven't talked to you sooner, Jeremy. I've got $3.5 million in my retirement plan. I need to do something with that. Will you work with me? Wow. And it's just about being there, being present, supporting them. I mean, some people are more trusting, and you'll get that day 1 or day 5 or day 7 or 1 year. Other people, it might take 15, 20 years, and they see you at meetings, and they see you in the environment, and you're promoted in places. And every time it's like, oh, there's Jeremy. Oh, there's Jeremy. Oh, there's Jeremy. Oh, there's CRNA financial planning. And then finally, there's a need, and you're there.
Mhm. What percentage of your practice today is CRNAs? Are you at nearly 100%, or is it something different?
Yeah, overwhelmingly, yeah, I mean, on a percentage basis, I don't exactly know the number, but I would say it is way the majority of our practice.
Okay.
We do have some people that are non-CRNAs, and
Mhm.
usually they've either come from friends, relationships throughout the years, or someone that has referred us to their neighbor, or um, anesthesiologist, an MD, that they work with. But yes, overwhelmingly, our practice is CRNA centric.
If you reflect back onto a time, probably decades ago, when you were just starting to build this niche and you had, a handful of CRNAs, but you felt like this was the direction you wanted to go, you were committed. How did you balance being, a financial professional to anyone, if you will,
Yeah.
and then sort of also building this niche or specialty? Just I'm trying to think for our listeners that maybe are just embarking on this path or considering this path. I'm sure that's something they're thinking, like how do I be two things at once? How did you balance that?
Yeah. And that's tough. I mean, it is. If you don't have a natural affinity for that market, um, it takes a while to build it.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you've got to build your niche while you're still servicing everyone as well. And that's okay. I will tell people that's okay. Just
Mhm.
because you specialize with a certain group doesn't mean you're going to do a bad job for anybody else that walks through the door. My clients who are non CRNAs understand that I have this niche market. They walk in my office and they see the name up there, and some of
Mhm.
them know what CRNA it means now, and some don't.
Right.
Um, but they don't have a problem with that. I think we get in our own heads sometimes, and maybe we have more of a problem with that than a client does. I mean, if you're a CFP or a CPA or an enrolled agent, you still know your stuff. But when you develop that niche, you just know more about that segment of the population than the majority of advisors out there. So I would say along the way, continue doing what you're doing, but
Mhm.
then compensate with building that niche and being there for that niche along the way. So you can't just go cold turkey and say, hey, I'm going to do this. You'll probably go hungry.
Have you faced any challenges or pushback from prospects that have met with you and have felt like you're too focused on that niche, or it's just not the right fit? Or if it isn't the right fit, has it been for other reasons completely separate from your focus on CRNAs?
Yes, I think what you're asking is if somebody who's a non CRNA.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, I have absolutely. And, I feel like there's been a couple of cases where I've lost business because of that as
Mhm.
well. Um,
Mhm.
I can think of one right now that was not too long ago. Um, Completely different socioeconomic path than what a CRNA would typically have.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like, and they never said this, but I do feel like we lost that business because they felt like we weren't catering to them, and where they
Right.
were, we were catering to someone else, and where they were. And hey,
Mhm.
look, I get it. And I completely understand that. I mean, you never like to lose business, but as long as you understand why you lost that business, I think that's part of the battle.
Absolutely. Well, and at the end of the day, either it's a fit or it's not a fit, right? And
Right.
understanding that and either moving on together or separately is probably
Correct.
the best for all parties involved.
Absolutely.
If you if you reflect back again onto the early years of creating this, just for the education of our listeners, what is something that you wish you knew earlier about creating a niche and having this specialty? If you could share that with our listeners.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has been really interesting as I look back is just the amount of time it's taken
Mhm.
me. Um, being involved with the idea of it's not about me. It's about them and what can I do to support and help them. And I did not get that in the beginning. I was around, people knew I was around, but I didn't give back as much early on as I do now. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's really part of it. There's a lot to what I do now that I don't get paid for, right? But it comes out in the wash. I do get paid for it in the grand scheme of things. But early on, I think you've got to show these people, whoever your niche is, that you're there for them come thick or thin. And it's hard if you haven't been around to make them understand that. And you've got to be in the long game. You've got to know that this is something I'm going to do. I might not get that business today, but just like those people that have walked by me 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, eventually you will get that business if you're there long enough.
That makes sense. What would you say has been the most rewarding part of committing to CRNAs and having your specialty?
My wife, of course.
Mm, there we go. I love it.
There you go. That's definitely been my wife and kids. It's been a great ride. I mean, I just got nominated. I learned this summer, but it just came out as an honorary member of the American Association of Nurse
Wow.
Anesthetists.
Congratulations. That is
Thank you.
incredible.
Yeah, there's not been many people who are non-CRNAs that have ever gotten it. In fact, I think we can count them on one hand,
Wow.
or less, throughout their history. Um, which I'm very excited about. I mean, I'm humbled, um, but it's great for them to see that I'm not just there for me.
Right.
And I'm trying to raise the specter of CRNAs in everything I do. So I think that's rewarding. My wife obviously has been absolutely the most rewarding thing I've ever done. My kids, and now, Julie, I have two
Mhm.
kids that want to be CRNAs. I have one that is
Wow.
a nurse at Duke right now. She's my oldest daughter, and she's wanting to go back to CRNA school right now. And then I have a little girl who's 12 who wants to follow in her mom and big sister's footsteps, and she wants to be a CRNA as well. So I don't know what my son wants to do yet, but both of them want to be CRNAs, which is just amazingly rewarding for me as
That
well.
is. Absolutely. And I was gonna say, when what you mentioned at the beginning that oftentimes your CRNA clients think that you are one. I mean, to me, that would be the
Yeah.
greatest reward or compliment of all, right? When they think that you're such a peer that you're speaking their language. If you had any advice for our listeners about finding their niche or honing in on it, I because I know these are coaching conversations that I have with advisors and teams every day. What could it be? Should we have one? The reflective moment. What is the first step that you would guide someone to take that wasn't quite sure what theirs was, or, how do they begin the process?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is to figure out who you gel with. And
Mhm.
sometimes you do that by trial and error. And start small, one profession, one problem, one solution at a time.
Mhm.
But who do you like? Like, Julie, there are people I don't like to work with. I know
Mhm.
that. And
Yep.
truthfully, CRNAs have a personality as well. And I mean, they're type A, and some are extremely type A, kind of like us.
Mhm.
And some are more laid back, like my wife is type A.
Yeah.
But she's not the over the top type A. And that's, we ebb and flow together. But what works for you and your personality?
Mhm.
Because if you're working with people that don't fit or mimic your personality, you're not going to want to be around those people.
Right.
You're not going to enjoy it. They're going to pick up on it. Everybody's going to know it doesn't work. So first thing is, who do I like? Who do I look at my client base?
Mhm.
Who do I like working with? Who do I have fun with? Who can I go have a glass of wine with? Who can I take out to dinner and the conversation never stops? So one profession, one problem at a time.
Mhm.
Solve a problem for that group. What is their problem? You know, for CRNAs, they are the brightest people, smartest people I think I've ever met in my entire life, without a doubt. But the majority are not business minded. This is not their thing. They don't like it.
Mhm.
They need someone to help them, and that's where we've kind of designed our whole firm around that. So, second thing is, once you've defined that market, you got to go deep. What are the nuances that whoever your target market is, what is the nuance in their financial world? What do they need from someone, and what can you give them? I think that's another part to that. What's their pain point? What's their problem? And then from there, be visible. Teach. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, I go around to schools, and I've done this for 20 plus years. These SRNAs, or student registered nurse anesthetists, they don't get their C until they graduate and pass their boards. Um, but I go in and I teach, financial services to these classes, to these SRNAs. What should they be thinking about? And 20 years later, some of these people are clients. Um, but I do it just to educate, to teach them. It's not they listen, right now, those students have nothing to offer me. They don't have $1 million in assets. They have no money, in fact. But I'm doing it to help them get better in the hopes that one day maybe they'll be clients, maybe they won't, but they're going to be better off from knowing me and me helping them. So teach, educate, bring value to them. And if you do that, clients will find you. That's another point to this. Being in this market, I can't tell you how many calls and emails we get a week from CRNAs all over the country that have heard me speak, that have read my books, that listen to the podcast, that
Mhm.
maybe saw me 20 years ago at a meeting speak, that maybe I taught their class 10 years ago. They find you. Um, be committed. You
Mhm.
don't build a niche in 90 days, guys.
No.
It takes years and years and years of focused service. And along the way, you're going to build some great relationships. You're going to build great friendships. You're going to become that person, the go to person for that niche. And they're going to recognize you as that. Be there, be committed. And I guess the last thing is, as I kind of end up this part of it, is you don't need to be everything to everyone. You just need to be everything to someone. And that is what our firm is about. We can be everything financial to a CRNA. We understand their industry. We speak their language. We're involved. Our goal is to use the business, and anesthesia is a business. I know it's
Mhm.
healthcare, but it is a business, and I understand that business, and I understand that side of it. How do we use the business of anesthesia to help our clients get to where they want to be financially? Whatever that is, whether it's educating their kids, getting out of school loan debt, paying off their house, retiring, traveling, going 1099, making more money doing 1099, accounting, taxes. That's us.
Mhm. That is amazing advice. Thank you for sharing that with our listeners. And thank you for sharing all of your wisdom on creating a niche with us today. One of our favorite parts of the Human Centric Investing podcast is what we call our lightning round. It's just to get to know you a little bit better as a human being. So if you're willing, I'd love to just fire off a few questions your way and just share with us the top of mind answer.
Wow, Julie, I guess you're putting me on the spot
I
here,
am.
but
This is, yes, exactly.
all
This is
right,
the high
let's
intensity
go.
portion
I'm
of
ready.
the podcast. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
Oh, I mean, like every male, I'm a 10.
Good to know. What's your favorite holiday?
Oh, I'm going to say July 4th.
Oh, I
But
love that. We don't hear that one very often.
do you know
That's
why?
great.
Because my birthday is July 4th.
Oh my goodness. So it's
And
always a celebration for you that day.
and my daughter's birthday is July 4th.
No way.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So that is a very special day.
Very special day. And I have to kind of chime in there, so is April Fool's, because that is my son's birthday.
Okay.
And my older daughter was actually due Halloween, but she decided to hang on and she came November the 1st. So all three of
Okay.
those days are amazing days. But
I love that. What's the best age?
oh man, I don't know that I've seen it yet, but it's pretty good right now. Um, people sometimes get scared of their 30s and then really get scared of their 40s. I would say that my late 30s and 40s that was really where I thought life got a lot more fun.
Hmm.
So I would say there, but I have clients that say their 50s and 60s were the
Yep.
best. And I think life is what you make of it. I think age is just a number, and that, you make the best of every stage of life that you're in.
I think that's so true. Are you a fan of a paper to-do list or a digital one?
Paper, still love the
Oh,
paper.
yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. Doesn't it feel good to cross it off?
It
That's my
does.
favorite
I
part.
love it. I write it
Those
down.
those of us that are very high type A, it's like, yes, crossing that off.
Yes, yes. We got enough technology these days as well.
Well, Jeremy, I can't thank you enough for joining us here today on the Human Centric Investing podcast to share with our listeners how to create a niche of their own. And obviously, yours has been so incredibly successful. And for those of our listeners that want to learn more about Jeremy, don't forget to check out his podcast called Beyond the Mask. So thank you again, Jeremy, for your time today.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate being on.
Thanks for listening to the Hartford Funds Human Centric Investing Podcast. If you'd like to tune in for more episodes, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube.
And if you'd like to be a guest and share your best ideas for transforming client relationships, email us at guestbooking@hartfordfunds.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Talk to you soon. The views and opinions expressed herein are those of the guest, who is not affiliated with Hartford Funds.